sound. I don't have that kind of control.
Is the music first?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Uh-oh. Oh, okay, here we go.
You can kill the sound.
Yeah.
Song now, Mike.
All
There
right.
you go.
Okay, hey guys, how's everyone doing today?
Off to a rocky start, I see. Hey, cheers, dude.
Cheers. We're
Wait, the most observant among you lot might have noticed that we are not at our regular digs.
yeah, we are no longer at All Talk Is On. Not that
Studios.
studios, right? Not that I was ever officially named that.
Yeah.
However, we have gotten this great opportunity to be at Girth Studios,
Girth Radio.
Girth Radio.
Yeah.
Sort of a partnership of Betty's,
Yes.
where we hold the Formula One watch parties.
Screenings? Yeah.
I like that word better than what I said.
Hey, I'd say cheers.
Cheers.
If you haven't caught on, I mean, I guess for our audio listeners too. Let's talk a bit more about this and what this means for you. What this is gonna mean for you guys. Lots of interesting things ahead. I know that we keep saying this and actually not delivering on that promise, but this year we truly do have lots of big things and interesting things that are coming down the pipeline, and this is definitely one of them. So just so you know, so we had been doing these screenings of the races, and we did it in partnership first with this bar in downtown Toronto. And they have this sister bar. We're not at the same place. Not the same place, but they have this sister location that in it they've based an independent radio station.
Yeah.
Now our shows, and that's what this is. It's called Girth Radio. It's based out of Toronto, and we are right now at the studio. If you saw the video at the beginning of the episode when we just sort of walked through, it is inside a bar, and that's why we have the pleasure of just having beers right here, getting delivered to us.
Casual beers.
Oh yeah, some cash beers. But it's great. Now we are in talks with them to actually finally find us to actually find a slot within the programming of Girth Radio. But we will eventually make it onto their normal programming. For now, for the next little bit, we are just going to be going live the same ways that we've been going live, and that's not going to change.
Yeah.
But just so you know, we are moving forward with this. It's a new studio, lots of cool stuff, and if you can hear from the background, it's true. We are at a bar. Just listen to this for a second.
Yeah.
That's
a bar.
Yeah, that sounds a bar.
Those are human beings enjoying their Friday evenings.
So yeah, this is great, man. I think, and well, also the more observant of you guys would have noticed that we are missing. We are one man down today.
Yeah, the last week or so has been a bit hectic on our schedules. As Jay was saying before, the studio, All Talk Is On studio, has sort of. How would you describe it, Jay?
It is coming towards the end of its reasonable lifetime.
Yes.
It is definitely. So it was time to find a new home.
Yep. And we found one pretty quick.
Yes.
I think we did. I think
it was overnight, but it took us about 2 years to get to this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but guys, we're really interesting. We're really interesting. We're really, really excited about this year, and why not? Let's start it right now. Actually, should we do this thing here? Let's here. I want to do this one thing, Mike.
Yeah.
So
you do this one thing.
I just want to do this one thing. Just show the peeps.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Show them. Show the people.
Yeah. Let's do. So I'm just gonna.
He's gonna take you for a ride, guys. He's gonna take you for. Yeah, this might be a little bit difficult. Yeah, you see it, guys, now. Yeah. And this is a live bar right here. Right downtown Toronto.
In downtown Toronto. How cool is that? Okay. Let me know when we're back in.
We're good. We're good. We're good. We're back in frame.
Okay. So, how'd you guys like that tour? But yeah, no, we're excited about what's in store for us, for you guys, for F1 in general, and that leads us quite nicely to obviously the topic in everybody's mind right now, which is the fact that it's back.
Yeah,
we're back.
Oh my God. I, in sort of anticipation of the Australian Grand Prix, I decided to watch Rush on Netflix. And if you guys are on Netflix, it's back on. And
at least in the Canadian version. But they're working on integrating all the Netflixes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually, I think it'll become one. But at the same time, it got me so fucking pumped up, man. And it really kind of showed to me that, like, the rivalry between Niki Lauda and James Hunt was like just two different types of personalities, which I do find really exist today, right? Like, you could look at Mercedes right now, right? You see the differences between Bottas and
Lewis,
right? Because like Lewis is just like, I'm gonna fucking party up.
Completely like it's just diametrically opposed. One is a blonde guy from Finland. The other guy is a half black guy from Stevenage, UK. I mean, like, and Barbados or wherever his dad's
Grenada.
from. Grenada, yes, that's what it is. But you know what I mean? Like, one is like the, Lewis is probably one of the best drivers out there, but. And that's not to say that Bottas isn't, but Lewis is definitely more of a
he's a show off, right? Well,
kind of guy,
personality-wise, like he's a big show off.
He's out there. He's putting himself out there, whereas Bottas is way more restrained. Yeah, man. Like,
well, when you're trying to like harness and wrestle with like these giant mechanical beasts, it's like there's obviously like there's two different types of personalities that can really ride them, but at the same time, it's like, which is better for the sport? You know what I mean? Like, do you want a Lewis on your team or do you want a Bottas on your team? Like, Bottas, like, great driver,
absolutely,
right? And we've seen in a lot of the preseason testing and free practice as well, right? Like, they're on top. Well, actually, no, right?
Doing the testing.
Ferraris split them, right?
Yeah. Okay, so let's do you want to look into that, or here? Let's keep talking just for a second about the personalities, and then we'll move on to the analysis. Because it's true. It one thing that you get, I do love that movie. I think that Ron Howard did a great job with Rush. But it does give you a sense that it is about the personalities, and it has to be about the personalities, and those personalities really do come out when these guys are actually at the physical limit, you know?
Yeah.
And that is what we want to see. And I think just from what everybody's been saying so far, because these guys this year are just it's gonna be more painful for them, number one, to drive these cars. It's not that it wasn't before, but it wasn't perhaps like the same amount of like there wasn't the same amount of physicality involved, right? Like, you didn't have to be like a super top-notch athlete. Like, you could there were
people were going in there hungover. Right,
exactly.
Well, maybe that was a bit of like
not everybody,
magic.
but some people.
Right. Well, like one of the scenes from the movie was that like it's like after James Hunt like throws up, he's like, have a drink of this, have a swig of this, and a toke of that.
Yeah,
and he just like gets into the car. He's like, it was like an F3 car, I think.
Yeah, that was back in his F3 days. Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, man, fuck yeah.
Well, those were different days too. I mean, you could get away with doing that like a normal F1, but in today's day and age, because these guys were maybe they're always in a sterilized environment, right? With their PR people watching everything that they say, etc., etc. There's not as much room for drivers to show and develop their personalities anymore, or there hadn't been till now, and huge things are changing in F1 today. Like, one of the greatest things, one of the best things that I saw, like, actually from yesterday, from Thursday, about what they're doing, what Liberty Media is able to change. So not only are they giving the teams the freedom to broadcast to social media to their heart's content, but also they are opening up the paddock. Like before, it used to be that the drivers would do their session, would do their thing, and then they come out to this what they call the pen, the press pen, where the TV reporters would be there. That pen was inside the paddock, whatever. So anybody from the paddock, I mean, just you could only ever see that if you were in the paddock. Now they've moved that section, and I don't know if like they've actually just rearranged the paddock to fit that, but they've moved that section so that now as the drivers come out and when they come out and do their thing, on one side of the barriers they have the reporters like normal, like they used to, but then on the other side in the background, so the TV cameras catch it all, they have like free access to fans and fans yelling and holding signs. It's a change like that, and this is kind of what we were talking about a couple episodes back when we said that Liberty is gonna come in, and in terms of what you and I can expect to see, there's probably gonna be very little that they can change. In terms of our viewing experience, how we get it here, like it's not like all of a sudden there's gonna be like
you're gonna get all the live streams.
Through some sort of an app. That's gonna take years. But in whatever they can change, they've been able to change it, and they've been doing it relentlessly. Like that didn't take no time. Honestly, we see it on the screen, and anybody that saw this in the broadcast would agree with me. Like you see it on the screen, and it just like to them it was like almost a joke. Like the reporters were asking Danny Rick, like, "Hey, Danny Rick, like." Because it was obviously a lot of Danny Rick fans because they're in Australia. Danny Rick, like, what do you think of this or whatever? Like, he's like,
what do you think of kangaroo meat?
Kangaroo meat is delicious. Actually, I got a couple of kangaroo burgers in my fridge right now.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
monster.
But
is that because of Danny Rick?
No, well, it's just the Australian Grand Prix. Obviously, you gotta celebrate with some barbecue kangaroo meat. Why not? No, but Danny Rick was like, yeah, this is different. He's like, oh, it's different. Yeah. But he didn't seem bothered. He actually loved it. He was like, hey, everybody, like waving to the crowd. Yeah. That is beautiful. That's what we want to see. So in those little changes the Liberty Media can and will do, it's completely in the right direction.
I kind of feel like, and not to cut you off, because I think you're making a great point, but I think there's, and I feel like this movie highlighted this for me. And I know it's not totally factual.
Oh yeah, let's go back to Rush for sure. Yeah.
But the idea is that like you have these quote unquote like extroverts versus introverts.
Yep.
Right. And both equally as great drivers, but like the way they approach it are just two different ways. And I feel like that's just a natural tendency of players. Like you can look at any sport and they have these kinds of people, right? You know, obviously Lewis got into the position he was because he was like a great driver, but also like an extrovert.
Yeah, well,
right.
In ways,
and knew how to play that. Yeah, it's like I'll get you a championship.
And some of those personality traits actually like come out in the way that they drive. Like you can see that in Alonso. Like if you see like Alonso, like the way that he gives his interviews and the way that like he conducts himself, whatever, like he can come across like if it's in the paddock, like he can come across as quite sterilized sometimes, but like he does loosen, and he like in the radio and whatever, like and his personality also comes through in the way that he drives. He can be super aggressive sometimes.
Yeah, but those interviews aren't like that. Is like it's a staged event.
Yes,
you know
it is. But it's changing, and that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so that dynamic is changing. You're seeing the personalities flow more, whether it's because the people are there or because the guys are actually doing some strenuous physical work. It's something is definitely coming through. One podcast that I am a big fan of, I listen to it whenever I can, is the one that the Motorsport magazine has been putting together in association with, I think Mercedes sponsors them or something. Anyway, they talk about all kinds of topics. Like a lot of time it's not even about Formula One, just motor racing in general, bikes and everything. But recently they did like a season preview. And Karun Chandok was there. Karun Chandok, you probably like, you don't remember him because he was never racing when by the time that you started watching F1, he was out of F1. But he was he was like the only Indian driver to score points in F1 or something like that.
Oh my god.
Something like that. Like anyway, whatever.
That's brilliant.
Well, I mean, he's an Indian driver. He's like kind of like a local legend in India. He
Right.
never got anywhere in F1, and he was never gonna be a world champion.
Right.
But he was a driver that could qualify within 107%. So whatever. And he's driving Formula E now, or maybe he was up until last year. I don't know. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
It was him, and he made it to testing, and he was talking about how he saw the guys during testing, coming out of testing. I mean, actually looking like they've gone through a workout, and that's what we hadn't seen in F1 for a while. That's the kind of that, them looking visibly worn down from the from the session, looking like Karun talks about this specific motion that you do, because Karun, say what you want of him or not, whether you like it or not, he was there for the V10s,
Right.
so
I see.
so he got to experience some really, really fast cars. So intense,
right.
yeah, intense torque, intense cornering speeds, and he's like, man, yeah, like you just like. He tried to like make a motion. He's like, yeah, like it's like when guys are going like this or whatever, like you can tell. Like he's like, as a racing driver, you recognize that motion.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
oh, you're like, now you're in pain. But then in the same sentence, he basically said, like, no, but as a top athlete, that's what you want. It's like when bikers go out and like they go for the burn, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's what you want. So, and when you see these people at the peak of their ability,
Yeah.
actually having to work for it, then their personalities are gonna come through.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that's what I think. So lots to get excited about there. Now, I also saw a couple of interviews with Martin Brundle and other people, and Martin specifically. He was basically saying, listen, like I see the guys, they're moving around. You can definitely tell these cars are visibly faster. If you're at the track, and on TV.
Well, they're breaking records, right?
Yes,
Which is
Well,
insane.
but
It was
there's
only like the preseason testing stuff. And
well, no. The more skeptics among the people that were, there were a bunch of people that were actually against the Bernie's notion that the cars had to go faster. And here's here's where it gets funny, at least to me, because
Yeah.
Bernie's last hurrah, his last motion, his last strong-armed thing that he did, that really was basically, well, he moved the cars in this direction. Like today's F1,
Right.
the regulations that we have, the new regulations, the cars that look completely new, whatever, all of these crazy times that they're clocking, is kind of a direct effect of something that Bernie decided. Bernie decided the cars have to be 3 to 4 seconds quicker, and then the order got passed down, and some people were pushing back, so like pushing back so much, man. Like they were saying like, oh, it could be 5 seconds quicker, but look, during practice, the cars at the beginning of the session and at the end of the session, they're 5 seconds quicker, and you're standing by the track and you don't even notice it. Yada yada yada. I specifically, what's his name? Pat Simmons, former technical director of Williams, said that. But now this year, once they're actually live and in front of you, and actually you can see them. What people have been saying instead is that actually you can see them. That it is actually like these cars are glued to the ground, like especially around the tricky corners. They do see like it's unnatural. It's that feeling again. We saw it a little bit in Montreal, like during the past couple of years when you've been there. But before with the V8s, I remember like before the first time that you went to Montreal, I told you, man, before those cars, like it was almost unnatural. Like you couldn't believe your eyes with how fast they were turning.
Right.
And so it's back to that. And
Minus the V10.
right, yeah. So now they're back to that with like these tiny little internal combustion engines. Just all the other like elements of the power unit
Right.
are outputting so much power.
Yeah.
That it takes, and also the tires. The tires also have, as you can tell, like they play a big part, because that's where all the mechanical grip is coming from.
Yeah, it explains a lot too, especially those rear tires, right? Because they're bigger.
8 centimeters bigger each.
Are the front tires bigger as well?
As well, yeah. Yeah.
That does. without having to change the engine too much, right? Because
Right, yeah. So those are that's what they were chasing. They were chasing these little changes that they could just. The initial directive was make the cars quicker. You know,
do it
make the
now,
cars quicker.
or I'll send my owls on you.
Yeah, to separate the man from the boys. And I think that it does do that though. Whatever you think of whatever you think of Bernie, what do you think of Bernie? I think that was probably at least the right idea. There was a right idea behind it, because F1 cars should be the fastest cars. F1 cars
should be.
They should be. It shouldn't be easy.
They're pushing the envelope. Right?
Absolutely, and now they are, and they should be pushing as much in the technological end, which they would have been back then. They should be pushing the physical limits of a driver, which they are now, and that's what's gonna get us exciting. Now, Martin Brundle, again, he was like, it was kind of hard for him to like contain. Almost like if you saw the interview, like he really wanted to go even further and say like, oh man, I'm really excited about this. But he's an F1 fan. He gets excited about these things.
Yeah.
But as an F1 fan, it's really right now like it's easy to get excited about this, but also because we have the promise yet again of close racing.
Yeah.
Finally. And overtakes, as far as anybody can tell right now, overtakes will be possible, but these guys are going to have to work for him. Work for them the same way that Max Verstappen had been working for his...
He worked for it.
Yeah, he worked.
He really did.
He took some risks.
Yeah.
So now, whereas before that was a thing, remember, everybody was like, ooh, Max Verstappen, he's just trying things that these people are not, that normal F1 drivers would be either too scared or like too cautious to try. He's trying things. Whereas before that was the luxury that Max Verstappen could take, you know, with his youthful impetus to try different things. Now, if you want to pass, if you want to have like a chance of passing anybody, you're going to have to try. You're going to have to try every single thing. You're going to have to get smart. You're going to have to get clever. Think 10 corners ahead. Yeah. Not just what's in front of you. You're going to have to like place.
I'm going to have to pass him over here.
Yeah. You're going to be like.
Or on the next lap.
Yeah, just be like, in 2-3 laps from now, I'm going to be able to like put him right at this corner, right in this position that I want him to be, right at this chicane. Yeah, man. That's when
it's
F1
so
drivers.
Because it's so interesting because each circuit is so different.
Exactly.
Which makes it so interesting. And I'm glad they race each race as many laps as they do.
Yeah.
Because you're looking for the fights, right? You're looking for the fights, and you can only pick those fights if you're a driver at certain corners.
Right.
And I want that to happen more. Right? Do you know what I'm getting at?
And we have the promise. That's the promise. That's the promise. With all of this, we thought that it wasn't going to turn out this way. That's the thing. We didn't think. Everybody was saying like, oh, you know, with these wider wings, it's going to be way more like difficult to overtake. But what people don't realize is that all that gets thrown out the window if there's close racing. And as long as we get, and you're going to see, like, as long as we get some close racing at the top and in the midfield, everybody's gonna be happy.
Right. I think one of the things about the one thing I want Formula One to change is that I want every team to be in the race to some sort of degree. And obviously, like, I just want I don't want I like Mercedes, I like Lewis Hamilton, and I want him to succeed, but I also want like a close title, right?
Yes.
Like, because the last few years, as soon as we started this podcast, as soon as you guys got me into Formula One, it was the Lewis Hamilton show.
Yeah. Yes, it was.
right out of the gate. And I want to see like Ferrari and Red Bull, not that they weren't there, but like everyone just kind of looked at each other and was like, yeah, they're not. No, Mercedes has this. Like, you guys even told this to me. Well, it's like Mercedes just has this.
Yeah.
And I think what would make it more exciting is like how close the difference was between all the drivers. After I watched Rush, actually, I looked up all the winners of all the Grand Prix, all the champions, and I was looking at the differential in points, and I thought that was a really interesting point to look up, and just to see how close it actually was. Like, when I saw like a 1 or 3 point gap, I was like,
that must have been an intense year.
That's super exciting.
Yeah.
And like that's what I want to see. Even if my guy doesn't win, even like I don't really have horse in the race.
Yeah.
But like I have some horses.
So
I'm looking at horses. I'm like, that's the one I would.
Okay, can I take a guess as to who those?
No, you probably know them.
Okay,
You
Danny
probably-
Rick.
Yeah.
Of course, right? But everybody like it's hard not to like him.
How do you not like him, man?
I actually think I think that he might actually be a secret asshole.
Really?
Yeah, I think
no.
I'm questioning myself with with that
way,
theory, but there is a chance that he might be a secret asshole. Like,
He listens
Alex-
to Alexis on Fire.
Yeah, he does.
And you know
Yeah,
what
he
that
does.
means?
Yeah, he does.
Is that it's either he's been to a show, like, or listens to it, and knows how to throw down in a mosh pit to some sort of degree.
He would.
And
While
with
smiling.
While smiling. Well, the thing about the mosh pit, especially a Canadian mosh pit, which is the funniest thing to think about. But the idea is that, like, if you like, it's about moving around, it's about pushing people around, it's about getting energized. But if someone falls, you pick them right back up.
That's true. Yes.
Right, and so
And people clear a circle.
yeah, it's like whoa.
Yeah.
Like I've been to shows, actually in Alexis on Fire show, they're like, yo, pick that guy up.
Yes.
And like,
Yeah, those
they'll
guys are good.
fucking do
Yeah,
that. And
yeah.
so that's what makes me think he's not a secret asshole. I just don't think he is. He's just his smile sells it.
It might be a bit of like having a controversial opinion and pushing it with it.
Yeah.
But I'll elaborate on that.
Yeah.
Because I think there is a case in there. You'll see.
Okay. I'm sure there is, because he's a high-profile kind of guy.
Yeah.
And he's constantly in the media. Like, if I were in the media constantly, like, I'm not sure how I could deal with it.
Well,
I'd turn to a hermit.
And that's the whole Lance Stroll question right now, right? And so Lance Stroll, I like how they did it this year in the press conferences on both Wednesday and Thursday. They had 2 press conferences, one like with some drivers. So on Wednesday they basically had 2 groups of drivers, and for the second one they had Lance Stroll, and I actually thought that he was gonna get fucking thrown out to the wolves and get fucking harassed and attacked.
He's like, fuck off.
But he actually did a good job, and not too many people asked him too many questions of the reporters. Everybody was obviously more interested in Danny Rick, what he had to say, and other people, and whoever was with Stroll actually at the time. Danny Rick wasn't in that group anyway, but what they did ask him, like, everybody just did seem interested in the challenges of being a new driver in Formula One and at such a young age, right? And I think that's probably what would make a difference, right? If you're thrown into the world of F1 and like you're expected to act a certain way with the cameras, with the spotlight and whatever, and to be honest, I think that in that sense he's so far, like, he hasn't they haven't been able to really like shake him, except for the one time.
Kevin in the chat, when we were talking about Danny Rick, he's like, that and the simple fact that his personal company is to supply kids with carts. He's fully invested in children's karting. Assholes don't do that. That's a brilliant point, man.
It is true.
Yeah,
it's true. Assholes don't do that.
They don't, right?
Yeah.
It's like instead, like, you win a championship, you retire that same year within days, and then you make a book that does it.
You release a book with just pictures.
Yeah,
talking about
no actual
Nico
words,
Rosberg,
except the credits to the photographers.
No, but honestly, okay, so we got into this topic, like we're so far from where we
Great
started.
point, Kevin.
Yeah, we started in this topic because we're talking about we started talking about Rush, and then we talked about driver's personality coming out, and how about like this year, like all of this is gonna come out, and if anything, I like the approach the Liberty is having towards it.
Okay.
Now, but I did get from the press conference, and this was golden. I wish we could show it. I wasn't salivating out of my mouth until I saw it. So there's the Wednesday press conferences have the drivers.
Yeah.
So yeah, they did 2, and then for the Thursday for yesterday's press conference would have been the team principals.
Yeah.
Now, when they did the team principals, Mauricio Bennett was there, and they asked him about Kimi, because what happened, what Ferrari did is that on Wednesday they sent out a thing, like a bulletin around, saying Kimi is off. Like, you can't
don't fucking talk to him.
Don't talk to Kimi. Like, he's not gonna give any interviews. He's not accessible for anybody for anything. And instead, they had Vettel doing all the media stuff, all the public media stuff that they normally do.
I think that's just a strategic move. It really is.
So they asked him. So and then, well, you gotta understand.
They asked Kimi this.
No, they asked Arriva Bene, the boss.
Bene.
Yeah. But here's the thing to understand: the people that show up to these, at least for now, I'm sure Liberty Media will have something to do with this. But for now, the people that show up to these Thursday press conferences, Wednesday press conferences, are the written press journalists. They're specifically the written press, magazines and newspapers.
Okay.
That's why you never actually. I think every once in a while, like, they have like other people, but it's primarily for the written press. That's how it was conceived at the beginning. So one of these written press people asked Arriva Bene, say, like, hey, like, what's up with this? Like, for like he didn't want to, like, you could tell that he thought very hard on how to, like, phrase his question so it wasn't rude, but it still kind of came like, hey, like, what do you mean? Like, so is this the kind of behavior that we can expect from Ferrari for the year? Like, kind of like that. He asked, like, oh, is this like, you're telling one driver that he can't talk to the press? Like, is this the kind of behavior that we're gonna expect from you guys for the rest of the year? Whatever, something ugly like that, right?
So a short aside is that, do you really want an interview with Kimi Räikkönen?
No, but listen to Arriva Bene, and Arriva Bene, like, he's gone away from the jovial, very, like, happy, like, very, like, say whatever first thing that comes to mind, Arriva Bene, that we saw when he first joined Ferrari.
Okay.
Where he would just, like, try to be personal. He was like, I'm a fun guy, whatever. Like, this is how I'm gonna approach this. Then he got quickly demoralized. I'm sure he didn't talk to people last year. Towards the end of last year, Arriva Bene was he would only answer to the Italian press. Anyway. Now, he's definitely more methodical. He's definitely thinking his answers some more. And this is what he said. He said, what do you mean we're close? Because the reporter in particular, he said, you're closing the doors. Like, you're telling your driver to stay away from the media. And he's like, no. Listen, no. What is media? What do you define as media these days? Like, he was like,
okay.
right.
He
So
started turning the table.
He's like, what is media these days? He said,
I mean, it's a weird thing, because, like, back to my point, which was essentially like, why would you interview Kimi Räikkönen? He's not going to give you anything.
Exactly. So,
like, at all, like, even like sound bites or anything like that, like, you just be like,
and the freaking,
I have to take a shit.
And at these events,
shit. Sorry,
you
guys.
gotta tune that fuck down.
My bad, guys.
But at these events, they get asked the exact same questions over and over and over
so
in 20 different
meaningless and
languages.
so
Blah, 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 blah.
thoughtless.
Yeah, completely. Oh, well, yeah, what do you think about this season? Like, how are you feeling today in the car? Yeah, completely. It doesn't challenge their intellect, and that would honestly, that would exhaust anybody. The most patient person I know, obviously. But anyway, so he said, what is media these days? And how do you reach the not just the millennials, but we're talking about the Generation Z people. How do you reach that? And he basically he turned around, he said, listen, you gotta understand. Without so many words, he basically called the guy, like, listen, you have to understand that you're irrelevant. Like, he basically was like, you have to understand that we have no obligation to this media conception that you have. Because he said, so we're trying to, like, cover everybody. We had Vettel do the traditional media, let's call it the legacy media.
Right.
We had Vettel do the legacy media, and we had Kimi do social media stuff, and that's what happened.
It's funny. I was doing a deep dive on YouTube on Kimi Räikkönen, and I think this might have been one of the newer ones, but he was doing, like, all these old commercials. We might have watched it actually last week, even though we didn't do a podcast. And he was just like, "Yeah, hello, I'm Kimi Räikkönen, and I endorse this product." And like, to me, that's not like it. You're not selling it, dude. I don't care who you. Sure, you drive a Ferrari. That's fan fucking tastic. But you know who else? Like, if you got Alonso to come out and be like, hey, like, I use this product. And, like, you know he would sell it.
Yeah.
He would sell it. He would sell the shit out of it.
Or
It's like,
Lewis,
I used to
for
drive
sure.
exactly. I used to drive for Ferrari. That would do more. that would do more for the product.
Still to this day.
And then Kimi Räikkönen just being, like, wearing a full Ferrari, like, outfit.
But that's not, that's not his deal, and that's why it's brilliant that they're finally coming to the realization that yes, different drivers have different strengths, even when it comes to not just on the track but off the track as well. So if Kimi can't handle the whole legacy media bullshit, then don't have him do that. Have him allocate your resources more efficiently. Have him do the social media. Well, anyway, I thought that was great.
I think a really good point, and this is something we saw last year at the Montreal Grand Prix, which was just how the candidness that just happened between Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah.
And I watched that clip like 5 times in a row, just because I was just so happy that it wasn't like these. So Lewis, how are you feeling today?
Yeah.
Are you feeling like the car is like super in your favor? You know what I mean? Like it was none of that, because like there's another point I want to get to, but essentially like, that candidness, like that realness, is what people offer.
Absolutely.
Like that's what they want, and this
absolutely.
is why things like YouTube and live streaming are so powerful at the moment, is because like that's not what actually people want.
So people thought that what people wanted to see was the perfect reality. They thought you know, but
because you know why? It's not relatable.
Exactly.
It's not relatable.
Yeah.
Oh, what? This person has no flaws and is just exceptionally beautiful.
Ask
Oh
me
my
about-
god!
Ask me about this BBC documentary that I saw over the weekend. But after I do this, let's go back. Let's wrap it back to F1 and to the topic at hand, which is practice. And Jesus Christ, we've been talking about it for over half an hour already. But no, so practice happened, right? Practice started today. Now, by no means is this gonna be like a let's recap practice, let's see what happened, whatever, all our full thoughts, because 2 things. Number one, you and I haven't seen the full practice sessions yet.
Yeah.
And we want to wait for Danny to like have like a full for our third counterpart.
So
to have, like, a full.
Javier and I were supposed to meet here at 12, and I got here around 11:45, 12 o'clock, and I sent him a text. He's like, "Yo, I'm still finishing practice. I'm still finishing practice," which is totally fine.
Yeah.
We didn't start till 4:30.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's not gonna be this kind of show. Like we'll have like a more comprehensive, actual full podcast soon.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to like go through what happened. So round up, team by team. How do they do? Red Bull.
Yeah.
First of all, let's start with them because they didn't quite impress as much during the preseason testing, but it sort of is how it was before. Hey, buddy, we're live. No, go ahead. So Red Bull wasn't looking as strong during preseason testing because, and everybody was saying that, the Renault reliability of their engine, and then the fact that they didn't bring like enough complicated bits.
Right.
What,
like they didn't get like the whale tails and shit like that? But they're like, no, even you were telling me, it's like, these things don't really make a whole whack of difference, right?
Right, exactly. So, but now, really in their testing, they have shown up with different bits, clearly stuff that they've been trying out, and and that's what's gonna be for them. They're just gonna come up with like little different bits, so their reliability also, like with their engine, has looked a little stronger. And so we have Danny Rick clocking a 124.8 in FP1 and 124.65 in FP2 for a corresponding P3 and P5 of those days. So the car, even though it did get, or at least for Danny Rick, even though it did get a little faster in his times, it wasn't enough. Everybody else was getting a little bit faster than them, but still, you can see some improvements in the Red Bull. You can see that they are going a little faster, and they're able to keep up a little more with at least the likes of Ferrari. Right. So
yeah, exactly.
I think that in terms of how we saw the picture that we saw from testing and the picture that we see now from the Red Bull is it tells a different story, and it tells, I guess, of a different approach. And that's what we all saw. We saw that the Red Bull car wasn't looking as aggressive as Mercedes or Ferrari.
Right.
But maybe this is just their approach, that how they're thinking of the entire year as a development for the whole year. It's an ongoing, bringing completely new different bits to the track, etc., etc. Like even more so than they did before. Anyway, so yeah, Danny Rick managed to improve. He looked pretty strong. But still, like they still had like a couple run-ins. Max Verstappen clocking slower times than Danny Rick, but again, we don't know anything about their fuel loads or anything like that. So Max Verstappen.
Is this during practice?
Yeah, FP1, FP2 today, this morning.
Okay.
Well, I mean, for us, it would have been last night. That's yeah.
Australia.
Yeah, I know.
Savages.
So Max Verstappen 125.2 and 125.0, giving him P4 and P6. So always behind, one step behind Ricciardo.
Now, can I ask this question, because I don't know the answer to it? Is there any sort of strategy or any sort of cunningness that comes in with not punching it as fast as you can in free practice?
Well, it's the same as
obviously new engines, and you want to test the things that you want to.
Oh yeah, but aside from the obvious,
Yeah,
I guess like what's a little less obvious is that the way that you want to approach it, and then there's no sense if you think about it. From engineering and like a modeling perspective, there's no sense in modeling or collecting data.
Yeah.
Which is really what you're trying to collect some data during testing, whether it's data from the driver that's going around and how he feels, like actual input from the driver, to like actual telemetry and digital data. So you want to collect a lot of data, and engineers take this data and arrange it in graphs and all and mathematical models and all that stuff, and they see if it correlates to what they saw in their wind tunnel and CFD, right? They want to and also they do all kinds of testing when it comes to how would the car behave during a race situation, and I think that's what's key to really understand how to really understand how these teams approach testing. You have to understand that what you want to simulate or what you want to test. Really, what you want to test is how is the car going to behave during most of its life, and the car out there most of the time is not doing qualifying laps. It's actually an absurdly small amount of time when the cars are actually performing completely and fully flat out for a weekend.
This is
even during a race.
A good analogy, I think, is essentially like you go for a run and then you play like sports.
Right.
I do both. Okay. And there's a vast difference between like just going for a run and then pushing to achieve an objective, as in like supporting your team, right? Like last night I played rugby basketball. Yeah. Right? And we're like you're running and it's like rugby basketball. Yeah, you play basketball with a rugby ball. Okay. It's a silly notion, but it makes you move, right? Even though the ball is funny, but the idea I'm trying to get at is that there's a difference between just like practicing and then going for it. Right. There is a mental difference and a physical difference. Absolutely. A physical exertion that you just don't pull out and just like fucking around and dicking around. Yeah. Even if you, go for a run every day, right? It's not like you're being chased by a cheetah. No, yeah. You know what I mean? If you were, you'd be running way fucking faster. Yeah. So
obviously the fact that these engines have to be reliable plays a part in it, but also the fact that they have to, the engineers just want to know how the car is gonna behave on an average situation, and it just happens that the average situation for them is not new engine, right? Especially with a new
new aerodynamics and new.
That too. Well, Haas. So if you guys weren't in on so Haas, their wing, they have a T wing, one of those like well-tailed things. They have that going just like many of the other teams, just like Ferrari, like fucking
Yeah.
Williams has 2 of them.
What?
Yeah, Williams
Too many.
Yeah, right.
Too much tuna.
But theirs was wobbly,
Yeah.
wobbly the entire time.
So wobbly that the FIA had to step in and be like,
That's still
"That's
safe.
just not safe."
Yeah, and they basically like banned. They so they told Haas to quit it with that stupid thing. Haas it's funny because Dallara, they're the ones that they do all the carbon fiber work or most of it for Haas. Dallara, if you're not familiar with Dallara, what they do is they do single-seater chassis for many categories out there, like Formula 3, it's all Dallaras. IndyCar in the States, they're all Dallara cars. The Dallara actually makes the body of the car, and then they stick in different engines in them. I don't know. Actually, I don't know. Indy fans, I'm coming clean to you right now. I have absolutely no idea about Indy. I don't
help us.
but you know what I mean. So they make it's not like they have absolutely no experience at working with carbon fiber, and if anything, they make more carbon fiber chassis than any F1 car, than any F1 manufacturer by far, because they cover so many different series. But it does seem that the fact that they make so many different and the volume that they handle, it's still clearly not giving them any kind of an edge when it comes to this specialist work with actually working with cars that are operating at their limit.
Yeah.
When we seen this like last year, when their wing at a crucial level, when it needed to like be working super hard, just like fell off the car. The same thing happened to them during preseason winter testing, and it's happening right now with the flimsiness of
That's so weird because like that seemed like one of their strongest points, right?
Right, like you would think.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be great. But it looks like it's falling apart.
But that's another thing that maybe F1 is not doing a good job of communicating.
They're also a new team though.
Well, Haas is, but Dallara is not new at building chassis. That's what it is. You know, they may be a new team all they want, but the fact that their carbon fiber bits are failing, and that wing is a carbon fiber bit, and it's getting so shaky because
what I was trying to get at is that it's not necessarily the carbon bit that's the problem. It's the connection to the actual
the fin. So the fin, which is a connection, is another huge bit of carbon fiber. The connection from the front wing, that was carbon fiber that failed at that time when the wing fell. You know, these are things that we're seeing that maybe
also I feel like there's when you're connecting these two things because they seem like you got the major back fin and then you just have this T that goes right on top. Like when I look at that, I'm like, how do you secure that?
Yeah, that's another challenge,
right?
For sure. But metal.
But if they just fuck it up, and which is a very real possibility, because Formula One is not. Sure, it's a science, but at the same time, it's like it's not perfect.
And I guess that's what I was driving at, man.
Yeah.
It's the fact that you could do all the work you want in any other category, but yet another reason why F1 is and should be the pinnacle of motorsports is because you're taking even that aspect of it, the fact that the little couplings, like every single detail of the car has to be taken into consideration if you want to make it fast. And if they wanted that wing to work, maybe they should have put more work into it, but maybe they didn't have the money to put enough work into it, and that's what they get. They get a thing that does
a half-assed sort of.
But it's not half-assed. Like, I mean, you and I couldn't come up with a solution like that, right? Obviously, I mean, everybody understands that. But if they want to play with the big,
I don't know, I could do it.
But if they want to play with the big dogs, you know, they and anyway, this stuff like that is kind of why another reason why I like F1. You know, the fact that it can be down to that. It can be down to the physical manufacturing, and because it's such a manual process putting these carbon fiber bits together, the physical process and the idea.
Kevin in the chat was saying, he says, I think Dallara only did the chassis. I don't think they did the aero bits like that. That's
they
the
did.
Factory in UK. Dallara isn't supplying all the arrows so far as I understand. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying.
They are they are actually outsourcing most of that stuff. Anything that they can outsource to Dallara, they will. Yeah, that's the arrangement. Haas will not work on anything unless they absolutely have to. There's different things, Kevin. So if you look at the technical regulations, and this is a document that you can download from the FIA website, the technical the regulation has only 6 minimum things that you have to like basically. It's like a checklist, and you have to like of parts that you must make if you're gonna call yourself an F1 constructor, and the rest of it you can outsource. So that as long as you can, as long as the person that is making the parts is not your direct competitor, so nobody could get no F1 team. That's the way the regulations stand right now. Could get say a Ferrari or anybody
right
to build the chassis and the aero bits for them. But what they can do is find somebody else like Dallara to do it for them, and that's what they did.
See. Okay.
So I mean, really, that's where it comes. But still, either way, it just goes to show that for a new team, for even with all the backup that they have from Dallara and all that, it's hard, and it should be hard. It ought to be hard. And I know that we're experiencing a new F1 with increased loads in terms of aerodynamics and increased strain because the cars are going faster. Listen, that's how it should be. And cars, maybe we've just been spoiled recently. The cars aren't falling apart, but that is one thing that if you go far enough and you talk to old like people that have been following the sport for a long time and old F1 journalists, they'll tell you cars used to break down left, right, and center. Like bits used to just everywhere.
That's the one thing I learned from Rush, the movie. It's just like cars just fucking didn't work, man.
Because that's what it used to mean,
that was
right?
A constant.
It used to mean that pushing cars to the limit meant pushing them to the point where they would break.
Yeah, that's the limit.
That's the limit. that is
until
literally.
they fucking blew up, and Nicky Lauda just got a face full of his ass on his own face.
But yeah, another thing that we were at one point talking about Red Bull and how they did for practice. Anyway, much improved and good to see, because we want that closeness, we want that battle. I'd say still, to me, they're third if not fourth in the pecking order. The Red Bull, they still haven't shown.
Are we still sort of seeing like the Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari?
No, actually, it used to. So last year it was at the end of last year it was Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari. Now
there was no hierarchy in that. What I was saying, what I'm saying was that these were the 3 that are going to be the top.
Yes.
Like fighting for the same sort of spot.
Well, at least in F1 supremacy, those are the 3 teams right now.
Yeah.
There are other teams that people associate with being nearby, and like those are the teams that like would have been like that were given the extra votes for, or the other votes for the F1 strategy group. So that's McLaren, Williams, and Force India, because they finished 4th in the championship. So if you had to like make a split and and like have some sort of a social class system instituted in F1, the Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes are here. They're just in a group.
They're just in their own thing.
Then it's definitely Williams, Force India. Renault a little bit this year, which is was another good,
I'm alright with
thing.
that.
Renault. Actually, just a Force India, that fucking pink car, dude.
Yeah, that's what. How did that even happen?
Actually, let's go right to that. Okay, so first story from practice that I want to talk about is how improved the Red Bulls are. The second story is that pink car. That pink car is great. Okay,
Do you have a link for that?
Well, you can find it. Let's throw it. Let's do this thing. It is
our internet
pictures from
isn't
Friday.
great in this spot right now.
You found it. Yeah.
And we're trying to figure it all out.
Oh yeah, by the way, guys, yeah, if you notice a slight drop in the actual quality of delivery of our video, is because we're still working this out. We'll get it sorted towards the end, I'm sure. I mean, sooner rather than later, anyway.
Just we're working with a lot of systems here.
Control.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
But you can also do the thing at the top right hand corner will like fill up the entire screen.
Perfect.
Sorry, guys. Like I said,
new little system here.
New studio, new system. Please bear with us. Honestly, please bear with us. We will eventually we'll have this studio operate completely seamless.
So why is it pink?
So yeah. So do you want to know the story behind it?
Yes, please.
Yeah, sure. I'll show you. Well, I'll t's you. There's got to be another picture there while I'm doing this. Maybe while I'm talking, you can find another picture of the whole car.
Yeah.
Looking nice and pink. Yeah, there it is, right below. So, check
I feel
up
like
there.
Someone lost a bet.
Oh, actually, there's Ocon as well. He has a pink helmet too. Oh my God, the team might have made them do that. So.
Is this the breast cancer?
No. You would think that, right? Like another. What else comes to mind? Bubblegum, like a bubblegum sponsor would make sense, right?
Hubble bubble.
Yeah. Well, what else? Like what else would Vagisil? You know that they'll have. They wouldn't sponsor a pink car though, but they would, right? You know, any.
Pretty funny.
Anybody like that, but okay. So yeah, who else would?
What else is pink?
Yeah, what else is pink? Like in their branding, right? What else is pink in their branding?
I can't think of
Hardly anybody, right?
Yeah.
It's BWT. You can see it there. That's their new sponsor.
Okay.
BWT. I forgot exactly what each letter stands for, but what they do. You want to take a guess? Just have a. Like, make it a wild guess as to what that company does.
Oh, I want to say some like sort of tissue company.
Close,
really?
But not really.
Oh, damn it.
No, you got one guess, dude. You know what they do? They do water treatment and water purification systems for large scale commercial applications such as hotels and industry.
And they fucking went with pink?
Why? And not even their own branding is all blue.
Yeah.
And they went with pink. Obviously, they're doing this. This is a thing that they're just doing to attract attention to the brand. Because if they had shown up with just a traditional blue that stands for see, like, so it's not even that. You gotta go like BWT waters. Yeah, this one. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Right.
What?
But yeah, so this is a product that won't ever, like, you'll never directly interact with this ever. But if you go to like a hotel, or like if you work in some sort of industry, like, yeah. So is this on the screen right now?
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's what their website looks like. There's no pink there. There's absolutely no pink there.
Do you think like a bunch of like millennials came up to
them
and was like,
girls,
just go with pink?
Nothing.
And, like,
nothing wrong with this. They're onto something.
Oh yeah.
No. Okay. So look
at this woman just having a shower here.
Bro, because beauty starts there. Don't you know?
Oh, what a time to be alive.
Discover the secret of silky soft BWT pearl water.
Oh, what?
It's only in German, by the way, that article. Anyway, so these guys, they do water treatment, and now you know that, and you wouldn't have known that unless their car, if their car wasn't pink, we probably wouldn't be talking about that right now. It's actually funny because
sorry, maybe like the problem I have with it is that like the what about the car being pink would relate it to the main sponsor?
Nothing other than the fact that it makes you want to look it up.
Well, the fact that like I had to get you to tell me that, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
but
that's sort of.
But it got me to think about it, right? So, and I told you. So there are like it. Even then,
now I know about BWT.
Yeah, even then their advertising little scheme worked, dude. You can't say it didn't. But yeah, that's what they do. They're hoping that their F1 sponsorship of Force India will lead to some more business with they're in there to kind of appeal to the other F1 sponsors, not to you and me,
No.
but to the other people that are involved in F1. Hopefully, like somebody like Hilton, the Hilton hotels, like part of them, like I think they sponsored, what's it called, McLaren at one point or another. Anyway,
Right.
they're involved in Formula One in some way, shape, or form. They're probably hoping that somebody like Hilton will see their advertising, wonder what they are, and then Google them, whatever. Who knows, really? But that's the clientele they would realistically be after. It's a funny choice, but I think that as far as advertising goes, it is kind of brilliant. It works.
It is. The point I wanted to make is that if you didn't tell me that,
Yeah.
I wouldn't know that this company did that.
Yeah.
However, there's something like visually you could have done to make it seem like if you just had so the car is all pink,
Yeah.
right? If you had a blue outline and then pink on the middle for the words of the company, that would just, of all the other ones, that's not too much to ask someone to do, because now I correlate it's like, these guys must be the main sponsors.
Yeah, see,
because there's no
but
indication that there is.
Here's the thing. You and I can sit down here and speculate all day about like what would actually look nicer on our eyes, but the fact
They
remains,
went with pink.
The fact remains that was just their advertising choice, and it kind of, you know what? Say what you will, man. I think it kind of works for them. It's just funny because
You might agree. I don't agree.
Now
Only
it's kind of a
because
joke.
There's a disconnection between the color of the car and
their product.
And the product and who's sponsoring that.
Yeah, well, yeah, because there is a disconnect, massive
There's
disconnect.
a huge disconnection, right? At least make it good. Like I get it.
It doesn't. It doesn't have to make sense.
It doesn't have to make sense. But it would be so much sweeter if it did.
It would be
right.
It would put you and I more at ease anyway. If it did.
I just think that's just so ridiculous. You guys at home can tell me if I'm being ridiculous.
No, well, my girlfriend
it's
liked
a silly
it.
thing.
My girlfriend liked it.
Oh, she's a graphic designer. That's not even fair.
She cut it, and also she works for this company that does they're in the industry of plumbing, of industrial plumbing. So that advertising, believe it or not, it has already worked, because my girlfriend was like, "Oh, BWT, that's a brand I wasn't aware of." And then and then she was like, they do water purification. We're doing this project right now. It needs water purification. Maybe we can use them. So, right? Like, who knows, man? It worked. That's what I'm saying.
Kind of, sort of.
Let's go back to the pictures of.
Let's not.
No, not their pictures. The pictures in general of testing.
Okay. How do I get out of this on Mac?
Yeah, there.
Okay. Perfect. Close that.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that.
Get it.
It's not even like their website's pink.
No, nothing. Nothing of their branding is pink. That is true.
At least put like one of the ribbons on the car. You know what I mean?
So, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Just put the ribbon on the car. Come on, man. I'm not okay. I'm not okay.
Emmanuel Beast right now on the chat saying that El Maximo, I guess that's what we're calling Max Verstappen now. El Maximo went off and damaged the floor in P2 and ran to the back of the garage because Adrian knew he was probably crying.
Oh,
That is, yeah, I did see that because and Emmanuel, you're completely right. He did look worried when he was running back to the garage.
I'm in so much fucking trouble.
Because if it just stands to reason the following, right? That Red Bull didn't choose to go the aggressive way that Ferrari and Mercedes did for the rest of the car, like for the the visible part of the car that we look at. Which to me, remember this from when we were talking about this?
Yeah.
To me, that tells me that they went super aggressive for the whole underbody, right? Like they had a lot. They probably have all kinds of secret bits and shit that like very delicate, very newy, very like trickery down there. There's trickery going on down there. If the thing about that is that if you ruin the floor is not unlike a wing. It's not something you can just replace just as easily.
You gotta take it into the shop and
they might actually have another floor,
right?
But the process of changing the floor, it takes longer. And whereas like you'd have like 10 wings. I don't know. I'm just
Right.
exaggerating. You'd have 10 wings
Yeah.
ready to go. You'll have maybe 1 or 2 floors. That's all. So it's just it's worse. It is definitely something that it's worse. It's worse than just replacing anything, and especially if you're thinking that Red Bull probably wants to get something out of that floor. So yeah, I mean, but everybody was. I mean, not everybody, but a few people were running wide. Even Danny Ricciardo clipping the grass.
Yeah.
At the new, right near the new Danny Ricciardo grandstand in in Melbourne.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah. Soon
my god!
soon he'll be getting a street named after him, Smiley Road.
Well, that should have been first. Let's just be honest. I don't think you can take the rest.
Yeah, but well, I mean, Jesus, even fucking Danny Kvyat had a grandstand in Russia. Is he still in F1? Like, is he? I
Rosso.
guess he
Yeah.
is. Fuck.
I think he's still there.
And-
With Carlos Sainz, right?
yeah.
That Toro Rosso team just seems
Beautiful
so.
car. Beautiful car.
It's a beautiful car, but like the drivers seem just. I don't give a shit about them at all.
So
I want to, I want to be able to give a shit.
yeah.
But nothing about like Danny Kvyat, especially after last season. I'm like, no, man, you just seem like an asshole.
Let's talk about lineups now that you bring that up,
Yeah,
because there's what people are describing as the best lineup in Formula One right now.
Right.
Some people are arguing that that's Ferrari.
Well, in terms of their drivers,
They're 2 drivers. That's what the lineup is, the 2 drivers. So
Kimi and
Vettel.
and Vettel,
because they both got championships.
right?
They're both highly skilled drivers. You know, that's only the strongest lineup because Lewis can't do all the work in Mercedes. Like,
Right.
so they say so the strongest in terms of the drivers, the Ferrari lineup, then possibly Mercedes because of Lewis and Bottas.
Right.
Right, whatever.
Even
So
Bottas is like his
no, but
practice
Lewis
and-
would be doing all the work in that comparison, or most of the work, as in together, both
Right.
drivers. Together, both drivers.
Lewis is on top.
Well, but then we're talking about the top. So
Right.
the highest ranked or whatever, like the best lineup is Ferrari.
Hmm.
The worst lineup they're saying is Williams. Actually,
Really?
yeah, because they're saying that
With
Massa,
Massa and
because Massa was not
he should
shining.
have retired 10
Well,
years ago.
Yeah, not 10 years ago, but no,
I'm
he
just kidding.
he actually reached his peak in around 2008, 2009,
Right.
but he hasn't recovered since. But
Right.
he should have retired in 2009 maybe.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So we got Massa that would probably be like would probably rather be sitting on a beach having a margarita, but because Williams was like, come back, we'll give you a few extra mil.
All right.
Yeah, exactly. So he's here like, all right, whatever. I'll be in F1 if they want me to. Whatever.
Like his heart's not really into it, right? Not like a new guy, right? It's not like a new Lewis Hamilton showed up
Exactly.
out of the scene and was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'll drive for Williams. He's like, we need you.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Because Bottas just fucked off on us,
Well,
and then
It was unfortunate how that happened, but yeah. So that it's interesting that so that move, that single move, that one move
yeah,
gave Ferrari the strongest driver lineup because it wasn't Mercedes anymore.
You know what's funny? I think I agree with that
Yeah,
now.
right?
I do.
And Williams the weakest, but only because Massa is probably not gonna try very hard,
Yeah.
and we just don't know about Stroll.
About Lance, yeah.
We just don't know about
Lance, we're so fucking with you, bud.
Yeah, no, yes,
100%, 100p.
100p. And it's just funny how how they do it. But then I would say that if anything, the lineup of Toro Rosso, if we're keeping in these like the most this, the most that lineup, I think the lineup of Toro Rosso is, if anything, the most unequal in terms of, even more so than Stroll and Massa, only because we just simply don't know, number one, about Stroll, and number two, Massa's don't care attitude, whatever, like low performance, might be less. We don't know yet, but it might actually be worse than Stroll's trying really hard. So we just don't know. But in terms of an inequality in between the teammates, I would be willing to say that the Toro Rosso is that, because on one hand we have Carlos Sainz, a driver that we're going to be hearing about a lot in the future, and then Kvyat, who should not be in the sport anymore. You know what I mean? So
I think we can all agree with that.
Yeah. So the most unequal to me is the Toro Rosso. Anyway, another thing. Sorry.
Oh, excuse me.
Did you want to like bring something up from the chat in a second? Sounds like a no. So let's move on.
Yeah.
Ferrari.
I'll read it. Sorry, I was in the middle of a sneeze.
So yeah, Ferrari's funny, and like, this is another thing that people have been talking about, because Ferrari. Oh, is it coming? Is it coming? Is it coming?
No,
Yeah.
my eyes watered. Hold on. Emmanuel Beast says the only reason Kimi is still in Formula One is because Jules. Well. Is that a hot topic? That is something a reference I just don't understand.
Prior to you, Jules Bianchi, we've talked about him before on the podcast. He's when we first started doing the podcast, he died.
Right, I remember that
after the crash. So he crashed in Suzuka, and then he died the year after.
Jesus.
So and a lot of people are still lamenting that and all that. So yes, actually, you could say that maybe if Jules Bianchi had still been around, he would have been given the Ferrari seat. But I wanna put it to you, Emmanuel Beast, that Kimi actually he showed some, towards the end of last year, he was not the Kimi necessarily, the Kimi that drove for McLaren back in the day, but he was back to being a decent, competent driver. It's almost like he had the opposite effect of other people. Like when they get kids, when they have kids, usually drivers like lose some performance. And Kimi, like, he just after his kid, he was like, all right, having a great time driving.
I want to
yeah.
I'll be right back, guys.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, so Kimi, I think that it's a bit of an understatement. Emmanuel be saying that he would have been out if it hadn't been because of Jules' untimely departure. I don't think it's necessarily the full story, because number one, Kimi was actually performing towards recently, and he had been, and he seems to be this year. He seems to like the car, but also because Ferrari just hadn't done that. There was no guarantee that Ferrari would actually move anybody so young to their senior team. People say that things and the attitudes, especially these old-timey attitudes, are changing within Ferrari, but I'm not so convinced, because they didn't even come close to make an announcement that big to say that they were going to take young drivers like Jules after they had proven themselves and move him up the ranks. That was still not a thing that Ferrari, at least back then, was able to consider, but they don't seem to have changed that tune yet. They're not actively looking to recruit new people in their young drivers program. Actually, if anything, the people that was the guy that was running the young drivers program before at Ferrari actually got poached by Lance Stroll. So he's not even there anymore. Like, their young drivers program right now is not as strong. I just don't see that happening. I don't see that Ferrari is the kind of team that's going to all of a sudden come out and start taking people from the lower ranks. They've never done that. They've always preferred drivers that have a bit of experience behind them in order to bring them to their team. That's just the way that they do things. I don't think Jules would have actually made it to Ferrari, not this soon anyway. He would have probably been put somewhere like a Sauber. He would have had like or somewhere else. A Ferrari would have found him a seat, not necessarily at the top, but somewhere in the midfield. That's my take on the issue. I think that is one of the reasons why Lance Stroll. Remember, Lance Stroll was part of the Ferrari Driver Academy. That he was actually for his for the longest time. It was people thought that was going to be his path to F1. His dad owned the Ferrari dealership in Quebec. You know, long-standing ties with Ferrari were had by Lance Stroll, and throughout his early junior racing career, it's only until recently that he broke all ties with Ferrari. Let's not forget that. Because, and I think that it's because Lawrence Stroll, his father, realized that no matter how much money he would pump to Ferrari, he'd never be able to just bring his son in to a Ferrari scene. In that same sense, I just simply, that's my take. I just want to explain that. That's why I don't think that Jules Bianchi, as much as other people would say, with good reason, that he would have probably just ended up at a Ferrari. I don't think that would have been the case. Not yet, anyway. Yeah. Maybe like had Jules lived for like until like maybe like 2, 3, 4 years from now, he probably would have made it to a Ferrari eventually. Yeah. But that's just not how they do their business. Anyway, Ferrari, now that we're talking about them, they were, in a way, my other surprise from testing, because we saw them with really, really good form. Yeah. In the preseason testing, but we had good reason. We thought we had good reason to really be rallying after Ferrari and saying like, whatever, we're gonna Ferrari, this is the year. They're looking a lot stronger. They're looking a lot closer to Mercedes. Yada yada yada. They keep clocking out fastest times. They're going like so much. They're going faster than the faster time ever recorded in Barcelona. Yet, etc. 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 Yet until
practice, yeah, and then Mercedes like, oh wait, hold on a second, let's try.
Yeah. It's like no matter how much Ferrari wanted to sandbag, they couldn't sandbag enough. And they ended up being still a bit off the pace. Vettel, he ended up, so his times were in FP1 125.4, or actually 125.464, so 125.6 most likely. So that gave him a P6, and FP2 124.1, 124.167 P2. So he was still P2, but obviously. Let's look at Lewis's time. So Lewis, he did again first place in both days, 124.2 and 123.6. So he broke into the 123s, like so. No comparison, really. Here we're talking about 124.16, so almost 124.2 to 123.6. Lewis could very well be a whole half a second ahead of Ferrari, and that at this point, where what we probably did get today, and this is something we were talking about this off air today, Friday. We're talking about the temperatures in the air actually being quite representative to the conditions that we're going to have on Sunday. So we're expecting the weather that was in Australia and in Melbourne today to be very similar to Sunday. So that is what the teams actually want for Friday practice. They love that. They love the fact that
like the cool temperatures,
whatever it is, they just
want the consistency.
The consistency, exactly. Right. The fact that whatever they'll be able to test today, or they were able to test today, they're gonna know what to expect on Sunday. Right. So
they just want something that they can replicate,
exactly,
and bring it forward.
Right.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but so usually what happens is that by and large for most races the whole weekend it's the same temperature, more or less. But interestingly though, and this is one thing that I'm looking forward to. Interestingly, tomorrow the temperatures are said to be completely different. Maybe there's something you can look off screen while I'm talking about the temperatures today, tomorrow, and Sunday in Melbourne. But so tomorrow the temperatures are going to be completely different, the conditions as it were today. So that's going to make for, if anything, a really interesting qualifying. That might still, whether you like it or not, it might kind of change the pecking order.
It's going to be cool.
Yeah, because so that's what I thought. So the temperature is supposed to drop.
So Saturday it's supposed to rain.
Yeah.
And then Sunday.
So if it rains tomorrow, man, so we could end up with a wet qualifying that's gonna completely mess up the order, but then on Sunday, then we'll have a bit more predictable conditions. How are you feeling? Can I run to the washroom?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah. So I guess I'm black.
Yeah. We've been here all day just trying to get the studio figured out, guys. And thanks again for watching live. Again, if you guys have any questions or anything like that, just let us know and all that fun stuff. I've never actually had to do this on my own at this point. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. The bar's starting to get busy. I'm actually kind of curious how much of the background bar you guys can hear. So Kevin was just saying quality is starting in 4.5 hours, which is kind of insane to us because we just expect it to be tomorrow and we'll watch it when we wake up in the morning. Jesus, dead air is hard to come by. But yeah, the weather for Melbourne is starting to look... That was really quick. I thought I had to cover more dead air.
I'm a guy.
I can't carry this on my own, man.
I don't know, man. I'm a guy. I pee standing up. I don't know how you do it.
Well, I do, but I also wash my hands.
I did that too. Hands are wet.
No, I don't even want to touch them. I don't want to touch them.
Well, man, we've been going for like how long now? Like over an hour. We only see like meant to like only do this for half an hour today.
What, we started at 4:30, I think?
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, guys, so I think that at least like the fact that the Ferrari weren't so close, and obviously we'll develop this more on our next show, shows to me that as much as anybody's been saying that it's all going to be about engines this year.
Yeah.
I do believe that the Mercedes Aero package is just that much better. Whatever they wanted to do with the engine, it would have come up during testing. I think that the fact that that the teams hadn't used all the refined aero bits, which they didn't.
Right.
That's why they're bringing new aero bits now. Maybe didn't show the full Mercedes pace back then, but you heard this all over, like over and over and over again, how Lewis just wasn't looking comfortable in the car, etc., etc.
Right.
I think that as much as people like were saying like, oh, you know, whereas we were thinking that this year was gonna be all about the aero because of the new aero regulations, then they in kind of the popular opinion flipped their mind into saying, oh, actually, never mind, it's gonna be again an engine formula. I think it's obviously as these things often are, it's more complex than that. Right. Obviously, there are some clear engine gains made by Ferrari. That is out of the question, and we saw that. That's what we saw during testing. During preseason testing, we saw the clear and undeniable gains that Ferrari had made with their engine. But the fact that Mercedes, because they didn't have to play catch up, because they had so much more time to work on the little aero details, their aero package, together with their engine, is just stronger. Now, this is actually pretty good, because it means that for the rest of the season, if all they have to do to really catch up, or you know, if what they have to do is to keep working and keep bringing new aero bits, I think that come Spain, we are going to see a really close Ferrari and Mercedes, but maybe not till then.
It's funny. It's like we can speculate as much as we want,
and we often do.
Yes, we do, which is okay. But I think one of the things we have to sort of take into consideration is that it's not a live race. The things that we've seen.
Yeah,
these
that's
teams.
true. Yeah, we haven't seen them.
Live races are just so much different than anything else that we've. Like, it's not a dry run, right? There's other factors that just go into it. The battles between the drivers, or the starts that the drivers get. Like, there's just so much more that goes into it. But yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta.
Absolutely, yeah. And we can't wait to see them turning those wheels in anger this Sunday.
Wait. One thing I want to bring up with you, and I don't want to say it on live, but I can sort of. I was gonna say, you guys can probably hear it. What about the
McLaren?
No. It's about one of the websites that we used to do. Remember in the first year when we did this, we did all the it's not betting, it's
the fantasy stuff.
The fantasy
Let's
stuff.
not even get in there. Let's just not touch it yet. Let's not touch it yet.
If you guys are into the fantasy like the fantasy pools,
let us know.
Let us know, because if you guys are really into it, we'll
give it another shot.
We'll do it. We did it our first year of the podcast, and we did 3 different ones, and it was like way too much for us.
Yeah.
And then we did one, and it was just didn't really work out. But if you guys are really into it, let us know
fantasy,
on Twitter, Facebook,
anywhere you want to let us know. So before we wrap it up, I actually did want to touch on McLaren. McLaren, what a sad story. It does seem like they're actually
it's the color, man.
Yeah, well, that everything is just not going for them, but they were able to actually do some more representative laps. Like their engine didn't break right away, whatever. They were doing a ton of testing, like with the air rakes that you would have seen during preseason testing. Obviously they had to do a lot of that testing. Clearly their schedule has been delayed a lot. There's no way around it, but at least they're out there, they're trying. They've had some significant improvement. Let's just honestly, for the sake of Formula One, for the sake of us, we can just hope that they keep that improvement going, and I really hope so. I mean, Lewis says something during the.
Oh, I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, actually. Because he said, and it was like a hard, they were kind of talking to it at one point. They were like, oh, this is this like your main contender, whatever. Like, how do you feel? The typical questions that they asked him. But one thing that Lewis did that I thought was great was. And he does, like, you can tell because he's kind of said this before. Yeah. He respects Alonso.
Yeah.
Lewis, they've asked him. Yeah, they've asked Lewis before, like, who does he think that like was like anytime that they say like either his toughest competitor or like a person that like he likes to race against the most or whatever, like or who he thinks is like the other like the really good driver in F1.
Yeah.
And he always says Alonso, always. So it was really cool of him to say like, listen. We can sit here all day like talk about this, but really, what we want, what the F1 fan wants, and what the drivers want, is for Fernando to have a good car.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
And do you think that's a consensus amongst like most of the drivers?
Every single driver out there, whether they show it or not, they respect the shit out of Alonso.
Yeah,
they have to. There's just things that Alonso can do in a car that they know that they can't.
Yeah. So do you think that when Rosberg left, do you think he just like I'm not sure how he didn't get that spot over Bottas?
It was too much money involved and too many weird contracts, but I'm
sure that's part of it.
Another thing that Alonso hinted at one thing that Alonso hinted at during the same press conference is that he basically hinted at him retiring in a couple of years' time. So he's not giving up. What we might see from Alonso is, even if McLaren is complete shit, what we might see from him is fighting still till the end, like we know that he will, but so that his name is still relevant at the end of this year and he can come up next year when Bottas's contract is due and move to either when both Bottas's and Kimi Räikkönen's contract are due. So
do you think he'll go back to Ferrari?
I think I wouldn't put it past him because he already went back to McLaren.
Yeah,
he already went back to McLaren.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah,
Jesus.
So I don't put it past him to go back to Ferrari, and I don't put it past him to go to Mercedes.
Right.
So anyway, yeah, and I guess with that thought, we can probably close unless you got something from the chat.
I got nothing. People are talking shit. Kevin and Emmanuel, go. Yeah, you guys go nuts. Let us know if you guys have any more questions. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, whatever it is. Let us know,
guys. Yeah, one thing before. I mean, right now, if you're like if you're still listening, you're probably one of our dedicated fans. Guys, thank you so much for your support. Thanks so much. We're sorry that we couldn't make this happen a little earlier. I know that we've been treating you guys to some standards, and we'd like to keep that for the rest of the year. Obviously, we're gonna do our best to keep giving you guys these shows weekly. If we don't come here, if we have a week that we don't do the show, trust me, it's not because we didn't want to or because we didn't try. We did try.
We all have jobs.
It's just it's tricky to find time, but let this new studio and what we're doing be our promise to you guys that we're just gonna keep doing this and keep it going forward.
Yeah.
Just like this season. For now, until next time.
Let make sure we tell them Sunday after the race.
Well, Sunday number one, Sunday at Betty's. If you're anywhere within the Toronto area, we will. I know that it was, again, a little late this year when we did the announcement, but we will be hosting the races this year again, either at Betty's next door, which is where we did it all of last year, or here, actually. We're in talks with bringing it to this venue, which will be super cool. And honestly, there's a projector and everything. It's super cool. Anyway. Either way, same corner, same block. Anyway, we're gonna be hosting the races in Toronto every single race of the year again this year, and much more things to come.
It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be and also the live podcast that we're gonna do. Afterwards.
So after the race, we're gonna try this for this Sunday. We'll see if it works or not. But we're gonna try this for this Sunday to give you guys straight analysis after the race on Sunday, as soon as we finish watching the race.
So I think
it's gonna be about 3:00 in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time this Sunday.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
All right.
It was a pleasure, and see you hopefully soon.
Thanks for allowing us to do this kind of stuff. This has been
and thanks to Girth Radio,
Betty's, these guys are awesome, man.
Alex, all the guys here. We can't wait.
To
get working with
it's
you.
Amazing.
Cheers, guys.
All right, thanks, guys.
Wait, we don't have the outro song, do we?
It's a new system, guys.
So we'll get this sorted out soon. Anyway, can you just cut it?
Yeah, we're gonna cut it. All right, see you guys.
Peace.